welcome back. Just type that in. Anybody who's online, I'll be recording this one. I've gone ahead and I was making a video earlier, but I got into a little bit of a trouble here, which wasn't too much trouble. I'm just going to clear this. But I've added into the flow control in GitHub hops. It's best to start with the easiest of scripts and see if they're working. You can see that I've run in an elif statement up here that's written itself in GitHub Copilot, and I've put in a basic else statement. These are actually outputting strings, so they're not really that necessary for what I do in Grashopper. But if I run these scripts, and I thought at that time, since I was doing an if, elif, and else statement, it would be best to throw in FizzBuzz, kind of famous or well-known program that outputs numbers. Unless they're divisible by 3, it'll output fizz. If it's divisible by 5, it'll output buzz, and if it's divisible by both, it will output FizzBuzz. So you've got a nice output here, and what I did was put through a range of numbers, which is pretty easy, just 100 hard-coded to the domain, which is 0 to 100, and or 0 to 99, or 1 to 100, I can't remember. I guess we could hover at 0 to 100. Steps, the same, so you get a nice range of numbers that come in from 0 to 100. And then I just divided by, or multiplied, or divided by 10, but multiplied by 0.1, and added a number to it, and then simply a little email, manage my email directly. Then I did a division through an integer, which allowed me to do an x extends and y extends on a pretty simple grid. So that grid is driven by that data. And that grid, there's a dashed line here. It's a little hard to see with the blue. Maybe I'll just go in here and change the color a little bit to make it so you can see those lines a little bit more. What I did have a problem with was I was trying to take these circles here and just put them on the points that actually come out as numbers. So I was trying to clean my tree, but I was trying to remove my empties, but there are no empties. There's just strings in those spots. But what's nice is this really only pushes through, it pushes through everything. It doesn't care what data type it is, but the indices only accept numbers, so that's where you get the real calling out from the call node, call index node, so that you're left with a list coming in of 100 items, and you're only outputting 46, and those 46 items get put on where they should be according to, with a little bit of a parametric slider, a nice little grid of FizzBuzz. So a visualization of the script FizzBuzz, which is running in real time right here, but I shouldn't say real time until I actually make it so. How do I get this thing out of here? Just pull it over here. That's too big, so let me just shrink that and pull it down here for now, and I'll just tuck it in here so I always know Rhino environment is down here by this little tiny Rhino little icon. So to get this running, you just have to hit F5, and there you go. You've got your, now it's updated. And what you should probably do is take off the cache on anything if you're actually doing debugging, and then that will run live as we go in. Now I could always take it through another platform or through another type of grid work, but I'm okay with the grid work that's there. But that's just a little bit of playing around. So let's just continue and jump back into where we might go with scripting. And I would think after elif, elif, and else, you'll probably want a, and we'll use GitHub Copilot for this, a while loop, what should we call it, statement. And let's see what comes up. We get an h hops component, which opens up for us. We can hit enter, and we'll get our name while, so that'll be our call command, while2, name, nickname, description, inputs should be a hops integer followed by a hops, I might want to force a hops string afterwards, but it's not really that necessary. No, we'll just take the outputs to a hops string, and that should be it. That will run fine, and we'll need a definition, and it will input an integer value while, and I like that it's named. Let's see what comes up. I equals 0, a string which is empty. While it is less than that integer value coming in, the string will add 1 to itself, the string of the while loop I, and it will increment, otherwise we'll have an endless loop. And I think that's it. And we're ready for a for loop statement afterwards, which I'm not actually going to do. I'm actually going to do a break statement after that. But we'll get down to that. So let's kill our script with Control C. Let's save with Control S. Let's run it again. And let's grab our URL and copy it and run back over into here and keep going with what we're doing. What I'm going to do is just go back into params, grab a little hops node, pop it in here, double click on it, put in our path, /, and we are using the keyword while. I like to copy it because I want to paste that here and run it, but I also want to double click here and, right click and name it what the call is. And that's just the technique that I'm using that really keeps things organized for me. We will be able to grab that while loop and see what outputs, but it is dependent on an integer value, which we will bring in as a simple number slider from 0 to 10. And did it work? And there we go. So we simply while loop output the string, which is actually not a number, but in Grasshopper it can treat that as a number, so you can use that as a number even though it's listed as a string later on, which is kind of nice because this data type will probably flow just fine into, let's just do it, it'll flow fine into an integer and it will flow fine into a text. And that's the power. That's the things I like about Grasshopper, that kind of keeps things clean for you. But that's it. Keep plugging along. The break statement's next. We'll just keep going with this all night. And you could sit and tab and enter and tab and enter and tab and enter, but I guarantee you when you run your script after you get it a couple thousand lines long, there'll be some bugs in there and you'll have to slowly plug through them. So if we take a look, and I do have this done ahead of time because I'm working on a very large script that we're going to get through flow control, then import modules, functions, lists, working with lists, dictionaries, and structuring data. We might put in a few games, like I'm going to import pprint, and I didn't get that running last time, and I'm going to get it running this time. Tic-tac-toe, nested dictionaries, manipulating strings, short programs for the GH canvas, which is fun to do a Pig Latin program or a guessing game or Caesar cipher. And then matching with regular expressions is really where I got to before I decided I better start teaching this 101. And so there's so many things as we learn Python. Then we can start extending to the libraries that really give this strength. And it really is endless. I mean, I don't know where my series are going. I have a few people on Patreon that like what I'm doing. I am problem solving their hops for them, which is actually the first kind of development I've felt very confident in assisting. Because I've spent some time on it, and I certainly have the playing around with a lot of these inputs. We're not actually inputting any lists or trees as of yet. We're going to keep this pretty simple to start because we just want to learn Python. So we've got a break here. I think the wrote the break statement. I wanted to bring in an integer, output a string, which is what I think we basically are at. Let's close up the inputs, output a string. Close up the outputs, pull in the definition, and see what's written. Is what we want the same thing, a string with I less than an integer, the exact same thing. I increments, we'll do it less than 5. We could have brought in another integer value just to see if it's less than that, or float, I think, for that matter. Break will be getting out, and the string will be listed, and this will show you the power of what we can do. We're gonna just break when it hits 5, and then we're gonna do a continuous statement, and I think we could probably just plug right through this. And this is, like I said, if you want to get into the AI world and realize automation is not about you being in control, it's about you becoming automated, that's exactly how this makes me feel. GitHub Copilot absolutely makes me feel like I am being controlled by the machine. Description, I might have to prime it with an inputs. Okay, input, what do you think it'll be? Probably the exact same thing, and we'll do a continue right after. So we will have break, and this is the continue. What continue function do we want to do? Pretty sure. Okay, so we did, hang on a second, we did while, break, and we're finishing with continue. So let's just keep going with continue. Outputs, string, the same thing. Nice and easy. What's great is when you start writing this from a text, it kind of follows a thing from a text. And we've got a continue in here, which it actually will continue after. So let's get in here, and after that, we may do fizzbuzz with a break, which is kind of cool. I'm not sure why we'd want to do that, but it might be nice to pull it back in and show you the application of this to a very simple script. So we will do fizzbuzz with break. All right, and might as well go through and do it. Hops component, fizzbuzz with break, fizzbuzz with breaks, fizzbuzz nickname, description, inputs. It'll be the same thing with the outputs, string. Pretty simple stuff. But this is kind of how you learn how to code. Now you should sit and figure this out, but if you've done some coding before, you're probably happy with this autocomplete. There we go. We're going to break at 5 in fizzbuzz, and that's it. And then you can do fizzbuzz with continue, but I think we're done with that. We're actually going to go on and we're going to do a loop, and I feel pretty confident. For loops, and the range function. Yeah, and that's one that kind of you don't really need to worry so much about, because if you're doing that, you've got the range function that works pretty awesome in Grasshopper. But let's go back up. We basically shut this down. We've got a break and a continue function we want to get running, so we'll do it all at the same time. Control save, F5 to run, grab our URL. Let's come in here and grab 2 hops. One will be break, one will be continue. We will put it into the path, /break, and this one will be /continue. And there we go. And let's double click on this one. Sorry, right click on this one and get the continue name in there. Continue. And let's get the break name in here so we know the calls are right for those functions. And we should be able to just have the same slider for both, and let's see how they end up being different. And we should be in business that this is the break at 5 and this is the continue along at 5, and we can go all the way up to 10. So you see this skips out the 5. So those functions are working fine. Really easy stuff to wrap your head around what coding is. Keep your functions dead simple to start implementing Python into your scripts, and I think you slowly start to get this. We're going to do a for loop, we're going to do a range loop, and we're going to do a range integer loop, because the range loop, you know, we got to be careful with that. That's always been an issue, the range in Python for floats, and I've always found that pretty interesting. And I think I had it worked out once, but it's been a while since I did it. I think it's best for me, since it is the most common node I ever use in sequence. It just seems that this is such a powerful tool. I don't think I'll try and remake the wheel on that one. But that's it. So we get a 4-star. Everything's working. We could try the fizzbuzz break at 3, but it really doesn't matter. All you want to do is when you write a killer script like this, is you'll probably want to have a Grasshopper paired file that has all the keywords of what would be in there to use. And what this does is bypass you having to even, I mean, you could take it and put it in as a plugin for people, but none of these are customized enough. They're only here as samples to start thinking about conceptually how you can bring Python into automating your scripts in Grasshopper. That's about it in a nutshell. It's not total rocket science here. It's simple Python. And the more you read, I think I heard it this week, like the better programmer you become, the simpler your programs become. And like I said, the tediously simple has really been appealing to me as of late. And of course, it gets more and more complex as you try and build that. So yeah, a range, we'll do a for loop, we'll do a range, and we'll do a range int. But I'm going to take a break because this stuff, like I said, tedious also has some other things to describe it. So I think we're good. I'm going to jump in here, grab my file. Oh my goodness, trying to find it's always tricky. I think I'll just shut it down. Close window and shut it.